So it kind of looks like I'm about to host an episode of Masterpiece Theater with this backdrop, but as you might recognize, this is a little bit of a different location than normal. I had to relocate because of the fires, so decided just to do like a little impromptu Q&A. I had, posted in my Instagram story asking people to ask me questions, and here are the questions they asked. So question number 1, what is the best experience that I've had from doing ASMR? For me, the best experience that I've had from doing this is becoming more comfortable being the authentic version of myself and speaking from the heart. I'm sure some of that just comes with age also, but putting yourself out there in a public forum and allowing people to like you or dislike you and learning to be okay with that has been like a really healing journey for me. I think when I was younger, I was, so concerned with being liked that I presented like this very watered down version of myself, this very edited, version of myself that I thought was more palatable than the authentic version of myself. And I thought there was like this safety in being this version of myself that wasn't authentic, because then if people disliked me, I was able to comfort myself with the thought that, well, they never truly knew the real me. But then I realized like that there's no there's no success in that. There's no success in hiding the authentic version of yourself and hiding your true opinions and hiding everything that makes you you, and then taking comfort in the fact that nobody really knew the real version of you, so their disapproval isn't harmful because you never gave anyone the opportunity to actually get to know you on a real level. And while there's vulnerability in that, there's vulnerability in putting yourself out there and saying like, this is me, take it or leave it. The reward of having someone see you as you truly are and getting it and liking it and appreciating it is so much more rewarding than being disliked or being liked for a version of yourself that isn't who you really are. So yeah, just learning to be more myself has been the best experience of doing ASMR, and just taking whatever criticisms come my way and just letting them bounce right off of me. So the next question was like, what are my top 3 favorite drinks to unwind to? So I do not drink any alcohol. I was never a big drinker, even when I was, in my early 20s, because alcohol never really had the effect on me that it seems to have on other people, where it really like loosens you up, it makes you lose your inhibitions. It, like, for me, felt more like a stimulant than a relaxant, depressant. But at a certain point in life, no matter what I did, like I could drink a gallon of water, I would just inevitably always end up with a horrible migraine after drinking, so I just stopped drinking altogether. So my favorite beverage is definitely coffee. I love coffee. Like, I get so excited to wake up in the morning and have a cup of coffee. Like, that's the thing that motivates me to get out of bed, is knowing that, like, I get to go have my coffee. And yeah, I get excited about breakfast and coffee. It's one of my favorite times, is sitting in bed with my coffee and then like playing some Wordle. That's my morning routine, drinking coffee and playing Wordle. Good times. Alright, so if I had a superpower, would I crush criminals, or would I forgive them? Well, I think it's similar as to when I worked in education. I worked at LAUSD for a long time. I don't believe in like ruling with an iron fist, but I do believe in consequences, and I think there needs to be consequences, and I think the consequences need to be fair, and I think the consequences need to be, clearly laid out so people know what they're, going to be faced with if they take a certain action. But I think those consequences always need to be enforced, because otherwise there's just chaos. But I also believe in forgiveness and redemption. What makes me unique compared to other ASM artists? Well, I only watch like 2 other people, and what makes me different from the 2 people that I watch is I don't see a lot of people using like dark humor in ASMR, and I do try to use like a lot of dark humor. I do try to come up with role plays that I personally haven't seen before, like whether it's the dominatrix librarian character or like a vampire bartender, just things a little off the beaten path. Like, you'll never see me doing a cranial nerve exam or something like that. That's just like so played out. Not that, like, I wouldn't watch one myself, but just in terms of, it's more fun for me to come up with something that's a little odd, a little different. If I had to join the military, which service would I join and which job would I want to do? I can't think of a job that I would be more ill-suited for than working like in any branch of the military. Like, I read this autobiography by Andy Warhol. I think it was called From A to Z and Back Again. And in this book, he talks about how it's very important to know what kind of guy you are. In my case, what kind of woman you are. It's really important to know like what your strengths and what your weaknesses are. And I would be so horrific in the military that I would be like dishonorably discharged, I would think, within like a matter of a week. Like, they would throw me out. I believe there's like a movie with Goldie Hawn from the 70s, maybe Saving Private Benjamin, I don't know, where she's like this sort of like prima donna that somehow ends up like getting put into the military. But I think that would be me, and everyone would be disgusted and they would hate me and I would be thrown out. So yeah, that's not my skill set. I know my skill set, that's not my skill set. So yeah, no part of that do I want any part of, but I really respect and appreciate and admire the person that wrote this is in the military, and I very much appreciate, respect your service, and I think that's one of the most, admirable jobs that a person can do. So my hat's off to you for being able to do that. I am what you would call a coward when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, terrified of violence in any form. My favorite song by The Smiths, I was more of a Morrissey kind of gal. And is it Vauxhall and I don't know, I remember just like driving back from college after school and like always playing that album. There was a song that definitely like I was always playing when I was going through a breakup. That's called You Have Killed Me by Morrissey. And like I really identified with the line that says, I enter nothing and nothing entered me until you came with your key and you did your best, but as I live and breathe, you have killed me, you have killed me. Yes, I walk around somehow, but you have killed me, you have killed me, and there's no point in saying this again. There's no point in saying this again, but I forgive you. I forgive you. As always, I forgive you. It's like so emo. But yeah, it's going through a breakup, and I was definitely someone that really identified with the line, I enter nothing and nothing entered me, because I'm just like a very guarded person, generally speaking, or I don't let a lot of people into my inner world. So it means a lot, or especially at that time, it meant a lot when I really like revealed myself to someone, and then to lose that person was really devastating at the time. But that which doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Drumsticks or flats? So I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but I don't like food that I have to like work for to eat. I don't like food that is challenging to eat and like requires effort for like, in my opinion, very little payoff. Drumsticks are messy. There's not a lot of meat on them, and they're like, it's like gets all over the place. Like, I don't want it to be like medieval times when I'm eating. Crab legs falls into that category as well. Way too much work for way too little reward. Not very much meat in a crab leg. Sunflower seeds, same thing. Not doing that much work for that little payoff. All those foods can fuck all the way off. I enjoy something that is relaxing and enjoyable to eat, and it does not get all over my hands, and I don't want to be like rooting around in there looking for like one little morsel, not having it. Alright, so the next one is also a food related question. It says French fries or onion rings. So not all French fries and not all onion rings are created equal. So we have to like establish that right off the bat. I do not want a French fry that is like a soggy ass French fry. It has to be crisp on the outside, and then there has to be a soft center, and there has to be an adequate amount of salt on these fries. I do not want some big fat wedge fry that is all soft. It does not have enough crispiness to it. And the onion ring cannot be all batter with very little onion. The ratios and the proportions, they have to be just correct. And then dipping sauce, that's also something that you have to take into consideration. Is there, good ranch, not shitty ranch? Is there some good ranch dressing? Is there some like good aioli sauce to dip the fries on? I don't know, just like a lot of. So it's like if it's a perfect world and it's a perfect onion ring or perfect fry, I'm gonna go with French fry. But it's a lot of caveats involved. If I could time travel, where would I go? Someone's asked me this in a previous Q&A. That came out really valley girl. But someone asked me that question in a previous Q&A. And the answer is, and will always be, I would want to see Jesus. Like, what person in history is more influential? I mean, if I had the opportunity to see him speak, like, oh, I'm taking it. So I had no idea what the F this was, so I had to Google it. The question was claymore or flamberge, which apparently are swords. And the claymore is the thinner and the easier sword to wield, so since I've kind of scrawny arms, I would go with the claymore. So speaking of swords, I have a sword story. So when I was first dating my ex-husband, like early, super early on, like let's say like date 3, date 4, like in that ballpark, he came up with the idea that we should go take a fencing lesson together and that we would fence each other. And this should, not the idea in and of itself was a red flag, but it should have been a red flag to me that when we started, bro came at me like fucking Darth Vader, like right out of the gate. Like he came at me like I was fighting for my life. Yeah. So that should have been foreshadowing as to like what was to come in that relationship. But like an idiot, I just like blindly went forward after that. Like he was even hitting me like in the face guard area. Like who does that? I was like thinking we were just gonna be like all cute, like being playful. Like it was a death match. Have I ever thought about making other YouTube content? Yeah, like I would love to do like travel content. I would love to do like ghost related things. Actually, maybe I wouldn't. Like I like watching ghost related content, like when people go to say like an abandoned mental hospital or something or whatever. But I'm very self-protective, and I just realized like I don't know, I don't want like bad energy following me home, so I'll just watch that content. I don't want to be in that content. But yeah, travel would be fun, and maybe just being able to talk to you while not whispering, because whispering sometimes can be kind of limiting in terms of like being the truest version of yourself, because it kind of like forces you to change your personality a little bit when you're talking in a voice that's not your true voice. So yeah, it'd be fun to just like, I would love to have like a minivan of some sort and travel cross country and do like a travel vlog going cross country. That would be a dream come true. The next question is, why are traumatized people so funny? I guess because it's like, you know, a coping mechanism. If you just like have gone through like a lot of shit in your life, you either have the option of letting it destroy you or like being able to put a spin on it that makes it humorous. So I think it's just, you know, a survival technique of staying in a positive mindset. If I could film a video anywhere in the world, where would I want to film one? I think it would be so fun to like go to the Amalfi Coast and like film on like some beach in the Amalfi Coast, where it was just like playing with the sand and you had the waves. Like, yeah, I love beach sounds. Beach sounds are so relaxing to me. Just not only the sounds of the ocean and like the feel of the sand and all of that, but just like the distant sounds of people talking and like the seagulls and all of that. It's just, I think the beach makes the most relaxing sounds. So the next question is the weirdest vacation experience. So like two experiences come to mind. One was a romantic trip gone horribly awry, and the other one was just like an unexplained, supernatural, mysterious type of thing. So relationship gone awry experience was there was this guy. So let's say we were dating for like 3 or 4 months. Everything's going amazing. You know, it's like we're vibing, everything's so fun. We're talking on the phone every night. And so we had taken like this one small trip together to, what is that place called? Catalina Island. Like a 2-night trip. I thought I heard my dog choking, but no, she's okay. Anyways, so yeah, we take like this 2-day trip to Catalina. Goes off, you know, without a hitch. We're like, wow, we travel so well together. We should go on another trip. This is like so much fun. So we plan a week-long trip to Cancun together. So I have no idea what happened. But when I showed up to his house the day that we were leaving, instantly the vibe was so off. Like, he was just acting so weird. Like, in his head, before I arrived at this trip, like, he must have, like, mentally already broken up with me, like, in his head. And then we go on this whole awkward-ass trip together for a week where it was horrible the entire time. And it was, like, kind of this romantic hotel, and everyone kept thinking we were on our honeymoon and calling me by like his last name. Like when we would be in any, you know, situation, like they would know his last name and they'd be calling me by his last name. And you know, we were constantly correcting people that like we were not on our honeymoon. And it was just like we never spoke again after we got back from the trip. It was just like, oh, I don't know. It's like the weirdest thing though, because like the day before we left for the trip, like everything was good. He must have met someone else. I don't know. Whatever. Who cares? And then the other weird thing that happened, so like my family would go camping every single summer. And my brother and I and this other boy that we would camp with, like lots of times, like at night, like, you know, we would like walk around the campground, you know, just stay up late talking. So one night, you know, it's late, we're walking around, and it's pitch black dark, you know, and we hear like this weird rustling in the bushes as we're walking along. Like we're aware something's following us. We don't know. Is it a person? Is it a bear? What is it? And, you know, we keep walking and it keeps following us. And then all of a sudden, something darts from the bushes in front of us, right in front of our path, into the bushes on the other side. That it happened so fast that none of us could clearly make out what it was. But it had very thick white fur, and it was really big. That's all any of us saw. And then we just saw thick white fur. And when I say really big, I mean it was like as big as like a cow. I'm trying to think of like an animal that everyone knows. It was like the size of a cow, but like very thick white matted fur, and it just flashed right in front of us. So I don't know. That was a weird experience. This question, am I in a relationship? I am. My favorite national park. I would love to visit every single national park in the entire country. Of the ones that I've been to so far, I absolutely loved Yosemite, 10 out of 10, and I absolutely loved Zion. Zion's so beautiful. Those were like 2 really incredible experiences. And this question's kind of like an inside joke. It says, if Piston Honda were to get a biopic, who would be your choice to play him? So I can't remember if I talked about this on Patreon or where I talked about this, but so when my brother and I were little and we had the Mike Tyson Punch-Out game, there's this character named Piston Honda where we were so terrified by him that when we got to the part where you were supposed to fight Piston Honda, we would just run and hide behind the couch because we couldn't even bear to witness it and just wait for it to be over. Like, he just terrified us. He just was like unbeatable. At some point, my brother did work up the nerve to face Piston Honda, and he did beat him, and he did actually beat the game. I never made it past the Piston Honda level. So for me, I don't think there's any mortal that possesses the level of intensity and, fierceness in their eyes that is Piston Honda. So I don't think that movie should ever be made, because I don't think anyone could do him justice. The next question is, am I American, and where am I originally from? So I was born here in America. I was born in Los Angeles. I've lived here my entire life. It's very sad to see what's going on in my city right now in terms of the fires. I feel like most people probably have this relationship with their hometown where it's kind of like a love-hate relationship, but it's like a family member, and while you're allowed to sort of say like your family's shortcomings, if any sort of like outsider says something about your family, you like want to kill them. And I kind of feel that way about Los Angeles. It's been hard seeing comments where people are like saying they're happy to see, the city burning down and whatnot. And while, I would obviously be the first person to admit that the area certainly has its problems, it also is a really incredible city that I love, with all my heart. So it's been very tragic and upsetting and emotionally draining going through all of this. Something I will say that I think is really unique to California and Los Angeles is just the diversity of it, not just, its landscape, but also its people. I mean, there's very few places in the country where, here I can drive 2 hours from where I live. I can go to the desert. I can go to the beach. I can be in the forest. I can be in the snow. I can be on the beach. I can be in a museum. There's just, at your disposal, within a day trip, you have the option of putting yourself in these completely different worlds, which I absolutely love as someone that is drawn to sort of like newness and new experiences, and has sort of an aversion for monotony. And what I also love about Los Angeles is that you have people from all different religions, all different races, all different socioeconomic status, whatever, all living within like a really concentrated area. So you're constantly exposed to just like so many differing ideas. And growing up, I've lived here my entire life, so preschool through college, through modern times, through now. I think when you're within a group where everyone thinks exactly the same way, you're able to be told that 1 + 1 = 3, and you don't question it because you're all just living within this bubble. But the cool thing about living in Los Angeles is your friend group is so diverse that you're constantly questioning like the things that maybe you were brought up to believe, or the things that sort of like your own specific social media is like tailored to make you think. It's like I have friends that are so diverse in their political stances and so diverse in just their ideologies and whatnot. And just like it's very dangerous to, the first thing that happens, like when you're in a cult or when you're in an abusive relationship, is they try to separate you from anyone that's going to question that specific line of thinking. And it's so dangerous to not, be around people that question you and that force you to examine why you feel a certain way, and if it's valid, and if they don't have certain points that are also super valid. And then you take all those ideas together and you like mix them together, and you're able to see that there's so many variations of the truth, and there's so many variations of the right path, and just really learning from all the people that are around you, as opposed to only having this one very homogenized train of thought. So I really love that about Los Angeles, and I also really love that, it's like people from all over the country that grew up that maybe felt like the weirdo in their small town, or, they just had some sort of creative dream or some creative vision, that Los Angeles is sort of like this mecca that draws people to it, that feels sort of like the black sheep. And you end up with like a really diverse, interesting group of people. And obviously, like, I said, there's its flaws, but I don't want to like traitor on my city, same as I wouldn't like traitor on a family member despite their flaws. And then the last question, there's two more. What's the nerdiest thing about me? There's like a lot of nerdy things about me. I mean, at my core, I'm definitely a very nerdy person. I think that since I'm into like fashion and makeup and all that sort of stuff, like people might not immediately recognize that, but I think upon talking to me pretty soon you do realize that. I think that basically my entire personality is pretty nerdy, to be honest. I definitely do like thinking about like science and black holes and understanding like the mysteries of the universe and why electrons behave differently when they're being observed, and just like the whole quantum world. And I'm very excited about what's coming up with like the new quantum computers and all of that kind of stuff. So I think it's an exciting time to be alive, despite it's also been a very unstable time to be alive. Someone asked in another question, like, if I'm optimistic for the next 25 years. And, I think that, like when you think about civilization as a whole, there's been so many ups and downs. Like when you're reading history and you see like, if you were alive during like the Black Plague, or the Dark Ages, or the French Revolution, or when World War II is going on, there's so many periods when you kind of think like, oh wow, it really sucked to have been alive during that little specific window. But after each one of those time periods, there's like always like new beginning and a renaissance. And I think that's what, being alive is all about. There's always going to be periods of darkness followed by periods of light, and I think that right now is a super exciting time to be alive. It's certainly not boring. We never know what's around the corner, and the amount of breakthroughs that are happening in terms of science. And I mean, just think back to like the 1980s in terms of like the video games that people were playing then, and like the virtual reality experiences that we can have now, and how they just keep advancing more and more. And like, God only knows what's in store 25 years from now. But whatever it is, I'm happy to be going along for the ride, and you just kind of have to take everything that comes and know that it's not permanent. This too shall pass, whether it's a good thing or whether it's a bad thing. The one thing that you can count on is that it's not permanent. Nothing's permanent. So, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the future holds. And I'm optimistic, cautiously optimistic, but optimistic. Well, that about wraps it up. Hopefully, the fires will be put out and I can return home soon, and I hope that you have a very relaxing day or night, and I will see you in the next video.